Have you ever wondered why a single face, a single name, refuses to leave your mind, appearing again and again, even when you try to push it away? It comes at night, when silence surrounds you, or in the middle of the day, like a whisper echoing through your thoughts. It's as if the universe has chosen one soul to place at the center of your inner world, and you don't know why. I once heard the story of a man named Daniel. Every evening, as the sun dipped behind the horizon, he found himself thinking of a woman he hadn't spoken to in years. She wasn't part of his daily life, not a friend on social media, not someone he passed on the street. Yet her presence haunted him. He described it as though her shadow walked beside him, following him into his dreams, waiting in the corners of his silence. He asked himself endlessly, why her? Why now? What Daniel didn't realize was that these thoughts were not random at all. They were threads of invisible energy pulling him toward a truth buried deeper than memory. Sometimes these thoughts are not about the person themselves, but about what they awaken within us. They can be mirrors, messages, or even warnings. Imagine your mind as a doorway, and each recurring thought as a hand gently knocking, asking you to open and see what lies beyond. But here is the question that lingers. Are these thoughts simply echoes of the past, or are they a secret signal from the universe, urging you to pay attention to something you've been ignoring? The answer to that question might change the way you see not only that person, but yourself, and that is where our journey truly begins. You're not alone in this. Many people carry the quiet burden of thoughts they cannot escape, an image that lingers, a voice that echoes long after the conversation ends, a presence that seems to hover over the edges of their days. It happens in the stillness of the night, when the world finally grows quiet, and the only sound is the rhythm of your own breath. Just as your body begins to drift into rest, there it is again, the face of that person, appearing uninvited, as though summoned by a force you cannot control. Sometimes it isn't just in waking life. You dream of them over and over again. In these dreams they speak words you don't fully remember upon waking, yet you feel the weight of their message in your chest. You see their silhouette in strange places, or feel the heat of their hand, though they are not there. And you tell yourself, it's just my imagination. But deep down, you know it's more than that. For some, the signs take other forms. You glance at the clock and see repeating numbers, 11:11, 2:22, 3:33, always when that person has crossed your mind. It happens so often it feels like a private code, a secret language meant only for you. Each number vibrates with an intensity you can't explain, as though the universe itself is confirming that your thoughts are not accidents. There are moments, too, when your body becomes the messenger. A sudden shiver runs through you for no reason. Goosebumps rise on your arms, though the room is warm. Or maybe your heart races, beating wildly as though it knows something your mind has not yet understood. Sometimes you feel drained after thinking of them, as if energy is being exchanged across an invisible bridge between your souls. And then there is the silence, that heavy, unshakable silence in which the thought of them grows louder than any sound around you. You could be in the middle of a crowded place, surrounded by laughter and conversation, yet one name pulses like a drumbeat inside your head. No matter how hard you try to drown it out, it remains. You've likely tried to reason with yourself. Maybe it's just nostalgia. Maybe I'm lonely. Maybe my mind is playing tricks on me. And yet the persistence of the signs refuses to fade. The more you ignore them, the stronger they return. Because these experiences are not random, not meaningless coincidences. They are part of a hidden dialogue between your soul and the greater universe. The truth is that reality speaks to us in symbols, in whispers, in fragments of energy we are only beginning to understand. When a person appears again and again in your mind, when dreams and numbers and sensations weave their way into your daily life, Something larger is at play. It is the same language used by prophets in the desert, mystics in the monastery, and ordinary people who one day realized that the veil between the seen and unseen is far thinner than they imagined. Think back for a moment. Has this ever happened to you? You're going about your ordinary day, shopping for groceries, answering emails or folding laundry, and suddenly their name appears in your thoughts like lightning striking a quiet sky. It doesn't make sense. You weren't thinking of the past. You weren't seeking memories, and yet here they are, uninvited, undeniable. You stop, heart quickening, wondering what this means. And what if all of these experiences, the dreams, the numbers, the sensations, the whispers, were not simply coincidences, but invitations? Invitations to look closer, to listen deeper, to uncover the truth beneath the noise of everyday life. So ask yourself now, when the universe places someone so persistently in your thoughts, is it really just chance, or is it a hidden message waiting for you to finally understand? There is a truth most people never dare to consider. When a person refuses to leave your thoughts, it is not always your mind that holds them there. Sometimes it is your soul. And when the soul speaks, it uses a language the rational mind struggles to understand. This is the first great secret, a truth whispered in ancient traditions, written between the lines of scripture and carried like a hidden torch by mystics of every age. Persistent thoughts of someone can be a sign of a soul bond. This idea might sound mystical, perhaps even unsettling, but it is far from new. In the book of Jeremiah, God says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." Adi. That verse is often taken to mean that our Creator knows us intimately, but it also implies something else. Souls are known, connected, intertwined, even before they walk the earth in flesh. When someone lives constantly in your mind, you may be brushing against that hidden web of connections, where the bonds of spirit reach across time and space. Think of it like this. Imagine two strings of a harp vibrating in harmony. Strike one, and the other begins to resonate, even if untouched. The ancients believed the soul works in much the same way. When your soul has been tuned to another, through love, through pain, through unfinished lessons, the mere vibration of their energy can echo inside of you. That is why their face rises unbidden in your thoughts. It is not obsession, it is resonance. Stories of this truth are everywhere if you know where to look. A woman dreams every night of a childhood friend, only to discover weeks later that the friend has been in deep crisis, silently calling out for help. A father feels an unshakable urge to think of his son overseas, only to learn that, at that exact hour, the son was facing danger. Skeptics call it coincidence, but the mystics called it communion, a secret exchange between souls, written in the silence between thoughts. Ancient cultures gave names to this. In the Hebrew tradition, it was the nephesh, the life breath that ties one being to another. In early Christian mysticism, it was called koinonia tou pneumatos, a mysterious fellowship of spirit. In the East, sages spoke of karmic threads binding souls across lifetimes. No matter the tradition, the message is the same. When you cannot stop thinking of someone, there is a hidden thread binding you together. But here is the part most people never hear. This bond does not always exist to bring comfort. Sometimes it exists to force growth. Persistent thoughts of another can be the soul's way of holding up a mirror. Maybe that person represents something unresolved in you. Forgiveness never offered, gratitude never spoken, love never released. Or perhaps they are there as a reminder of what you must become, a symbol of courage, compassion, or faith you have yet to embody. The Apostle Paul once wrote, "For now we see through a glass, darkly, but then face to face." What if the people who haunt our thoughts are fragments of that dark glass? Reflections meant to guide us toward clarity, toward truth. When you find someone taking residence in your mind, ask yourself, is this a chain that binds me to the past, or a lantern guiding me toward transformation? This is why you cannot dismiss these thoughts as mere daydreams. They are too insistent, too precise, too heavy with meaning. The hidden teaching is this: a persistent thought is not just thought, it is contact, a touch of energy, a stirring of spirit. The universe is weaving a message through the fabric of your consciousness. And the question that lingers is not simply why you think of them, but what is being asked of you. Is it to reach out, to release, to learn, to forgive? The answer is different for each soul, but the presence of the bond is the first revelation. If this strikes something within you, if you've ever felt the weight of someone's presence in your heart, uninvited yet undeniable, I invite you to step closer. Join this circle, this community of seekers who are learning to read the secret language of the spirit. A simple way is to like this video and subscribe, not as a routine action, but as a conscious choice to enter into this hidden fellowship, where mysteries are unveiled and souls are awakened. But let me leave you with a final thought that will open the next door. If constant thoughts of someone are the sign of a bond, then we must ask, who tied the knot? Was it you? Was it them? Or was it the hand of the divine weaving destinies together in ways we cannot yet see? There was a woman named Eleanor who lived in a quiet town along the edge of a river where the fog rose every morning like a curtain being drawn across the stage of the world. She was 42 years old, with a life that seemed, on the surface, entirely ordinary. She had a steady job at the library, a small circle of friends, and a routine that unfolded like clockwork. Coffee at 7, the walk to work through the same oak-lined street, shelves dusted and books sorted by 9. To most, she looked content, but inside, there was a silence that sometimes felt louder than sound. A silence that was broken only by the constant presence of a man in her thoughts. This man was Michael, someone Eleanor had known nearly 20 years earlier. They had been classmates in university, and though their friendship had been warm, it was never romantic. They lost touch after graduation, as people often do. Yet, decades later, his name began to pulse through her mind as if etched into the rhythm of her heartbeat. She hadn't seen his face in years, hadn't heard his voice, and yet he was everywhere. In dreams, she would find him sitting across a table, his eyes filled with something unspoken. In waking hours, his memory would emerge like a song on repeat, impossible to silence. At first, Eleanor tried to dismiss it. It's nothing, she told herself, just nostalgia, a trick of memory. But then the signs began. Each time she thought of him, the clock seemed to freeze on repeating numbers, 11:11, 3:33, 4:44. She'd wake in the middle of the night with her heart racing, the taste of rain on her lips, though her room was dry. One morning, while shelving books, a volume slipped from her hands and fell open to a passage about soul bonds. How certain people are tied to our destiny in ways we cannot escape. The words struck her like lightning. The tension grew heavier with each passing week. She described it once to a friend as if someone was knocking at the door of her spirit, over and over again. And then one day, it went beyond the mind. Eleanor was walking home at dusk. The sky was painted in hues of amber and violet, the air cool with the smell of damp earth after a brief rain. As she crossed the bridge over the river, a sudden wave of emotion overcame her. She stopped, gripped the railing, and tears filled her eyes for no reason she could explain. In that moment, she heard a whisper, not with her ears but within her chest. Reach out. Her hands trembled as she took her phone. She hadn't dialed his number in decades, but without thinking, she found it in her old contacts and pressed call. The line rang once, twice, and then a voice answered. It was Michael. His tone carried both surprise and relief, as if he had been waiting for her call. They spoke for hours that night, and Eleanor learned the truth. Michael had been thinking of her too, relentlessly, for weeks. He confessed that he'd been facing a dark season in his life, a recent loss, loneliness, and a silence that felt unbearable. He told her that in his lowest moments, her face would appear in his mind like a light flickering in the shadows. The realization shook her to the core. This was not coincidence, it was connection. Their souls had been whispering to one another across years and distance, weaving an invisible bridge until the moment when both were ready to listen. That night, Eleanor felt something shift inside her. The silence she had carried for so long cracked open, replaced by the certainty that the universe had been speaking to her all along. From that moment, she began to look at her life differently. The repeating numbers, the dreams, the sudden emotions, she no longer dismissed them as random. She began to honor them as signs, as the hidden alphabet of the spirit. And as she leaned into this mystery, new doors began to open. Her intuition grew sharper, her sense of purpose clearer. Michael was not meant to become her partner. Their paths would remain separate. But he had been the messenger, the catalyst, the soul that stirred her awake to the truth. Nothing in our inner world is meaningless. Eleanor's story is not unique. Each of us has felt that sudden pull, that unshakable thought, that presence we cannot explain. The real question is not whether these signs exist, but whether we are willing to listen to them. Because sometimes the whisper of one soul can change the entire course of another. And now I turn to you. Have you ever experienced something like Eleanor did? A dream that repeated, a name that wouldn't leave your mind, a moment when the universe seemed to send you a sign through another person? Share your experience in the comments. I promise I will read them, and in future videos I may even mention your story so that others can learn and find strength through it. But before we move forward, there remains a deeper question. If these signs are real, if these thoughts and bonds are messages from the unseen, then how do we discern what they are trying to teach us? What is the hidden lesson behind the people who live rent-free in our minds? There is another hidden truth, one that lies beneath the surface of the signs you've already noticed. The first secret revealed the bond, the connection of souls that explains why certain people echo through our thoughts. But the second secret takes us deeper, the presence of synchronicities. When someone refuses to leave your mind, the universe often confirms this connection through patterns in your external world. These are not random accidents, they are synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that whisper, "Pay attention." Think of the times when their name suddenly appears on a street sign, in a book, or spoken casually by a stranger passing by. Perhaps you hear a song on the radio that you once shared together at the exact moment you were thinking of them. Or maybe you are scrolling through your phone and stumble upon an old photo right after they invaded your thoughts yet again. These patterns do not appear to mock you, they appear to guide you. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, described synchronicity as the causal connecting principle, events without logical cause that are nonetheless deeply connected to our inner world. To mystics, synchronicity is simply the soul's way of showing that the inner and outer worlds are one. When the same person who dominates your thoughts also starts appearing through signs in your reality, you can be certain there is a message woven into the fabric of your life. But how do you recognize this second secret with clarity? Here is a simple technique, one that requires no special training, only awareness. The mirror journal technique. For 7 days, carry a small notebook with you, or use your phone if you must. Every time you think of that person without consciously choosing to, write it down. Note the time, what you were doing, and most importantly, how you felt in that moment. Then record any synchronicities that follow. A repeating number, a phrase, a song, even an unexpected encounter that connects to them. At the end of the week, look back at your entries. You will begin to notice patterns. Maybe their image always arises when you are about to make an important decision. Maybe the synchronicities cluster around moments of emotional vulnerability. What you discover will not only confirm the bond, but also reveal what the bond is teaching you. This practice works because it shifts your attention from confusion to awareness. Instead of feeling like a prisoner to these thoughts, you begin to see them as signposts. Each repeated image, each mirrored event becomes a breadcrumb leading you along the path your soul has already chosen. And here is where the revelation turns practical. Once you identify the pattern, you can ask a new kind of question. Not, why am I thinking of them? But what part of me awakens when I do? Perhaps it is longing, perhaps forgiveness, perhaps courage. Whatever the answer, you have uncovered a hidden piece of your own soul. Imagine the freedom in this. Instead of resisting the constant thought, you welcome it as a messenger. Instead of fearing the signs, you collect them as sacred letters in a divine alphabet. This is the gift of the second secret, to shift from confusion into participation, from doubt into dialogue with the universe itself. Yet even this is only the beginning, for there is a third signal, far more subtle, far more profound, that reveals not just the presence of a connection, but its purpose. Few recognize it, fewer still understand it, and when you discover it, you may never see your relationships, your destiny, or your own heart in the same way again. There is a point where the signs stop being whispers and begin to roar, where the bond, the synchronicities, the dreams, all converge into something undeniable. This is the third and deepest secret, when the thought of someone becomes not just a presence in your mind, but a transformation in your spirit. It is more than a memory, more than curiosity, more than longing. It is as if their very essence begins to reshape you. Your habits change, your emotions sharpen, your perception of life deepens. You are no longer who you were before they appeared in your thoughts, because the bond itself has become a catalyst for awakening. The mystics called this anamnesis, a remembrance of the soul. In the language of early Christianity, it was the mystery of how love and pain together could unlock a greater union with the divine. Quantum physicists speak of entanglement, how two particles separated by vast distances can still affect one another instantly. Different vocabularies, same truth. Connection is not limited by time or space. When someone refuses to leave your mind, and you feel not just their presence, but your own transformation because of them, you are touching the edge of something eternal. It is no longer about that person alone. It is about what they awaken inside of you that leads you closer to the infinite. Imagine a flame. One spark can ignite an entire forest, not because the spark intended to, but because fire is its nature. In the same way, some souls carry sparks meant to ignite the hidden fire within us. When they appear in your thoughts over and over, they are not only calling you toward themselves, they are calling you toward God, toward truth, toward the destiny written into your very being. This is why the experience is often so intense. The sleepless nights, the pounding heart, the sense that you are walking on the edge of something vast and holy. It is not madness. It is revelation. You are being shown that your life is part of a tapestry larger than you imagined. Each thread of thought is woven into a divine design, and the person who haunts your mind is not the center of the design. They are the doorway. I want to pause here to say something from the heart. This content, these revelations, are not created for profit or applause. They are offered out of passion as part of a calling to help awaken those who are searching for meaning in their own experiences. If you feel this resonates with you, if you sense that these truths speak to the silence inside you, then I invite you to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Not because algorithms demand it, but because every single subscription strengthens this community, a circle of souls seeking light in a world that too often chooses shadows. Together, we are building something sacred. And now, back to the revelation. The deepest secret is this: When someone fills your mind to the point of transformation, it is not about clinging to them, it is about listening to the message they carry. They may represent forgiveness you must offer, courage you must embrace, a destiny you must pursue, or even a prayer you have not yet spoken. The soul uses their image as a symbol, pointing you toward the next chapter of your spiritual journey. This is the climax, the moment when you realize the universe is not trying to bind you to another person, but to free you into your own purpose. The recurring thought is not a chain, it is a key. And yet, there is one more step. Because if this secret is true, then it leads to a final, breathtaking question. What happens when you finally accept the message, when you stop resisting and open the door completely? What revelation waits on the other side of that surrender? Every journey begins with a whisper, and yours began with a thought you could not silence, a face, a name, an energy that returned again and again until it demanded your attention. At first it felt like confusion, perhaps even torment, but now you can see it for what it truly is. An invitation. These persistent thoughts, the dreams, the numbers, the emotions that swell without reason, none of it is coincidence. They are signals, they are calls, they are the fingerprints of the divine scattered across the canvas of your life. When you recognize them, something inside you begins to awaken. You realize that you are not drifting aimlessly through random events. You are part of a living tapestry, woven by hands far greater than your own. Every bond, every synchronicity, every sign is a thread. And when you follow it, you discover that the universe has been speaking to you all along. This is the purpose of the signs, not to confuse you, but to awaken you, to lift your gaze from the ordinary and reveal the extraordinary, to remind you that the people who haunt your thoughts are not prisons but teachers, not chains but keys. They show you where forgiveness is needed, where courage must rise, where love still has work to do. They remind you that your soul is far larger, far older, far more radiant than you have ever allowed yourself to believe. Look back at your own path. How many times have you felt that shiver when a certain name passed through your mind? How many times did you dismiss it as chance, only to feel it grow stronger? The truth is, the universe has always been at your side, speaking in a language of spirit, waiting for you to listen. And tonight, you are listening. But here is where the journey shifts. This is no longer about a single person occupying your mind. This is about you, about the awakening that begins when you accept that every sign carries a message for your soul. It is not only about what they mean to you, it is about what you mean to the world, because an awakened soul does not awaken for itself alone. It awakens for all it will touch. So let this be your mission. Pay attention, honor the signs, lean into the mystery instead of running from it. If someone lingers in your thoughts, ask not only why them, but what is the universe asking of me through them? That shift from fixation to revelation has the power to change everything. And now, I want to open this circle even wider. If this message has spoken to your heart, I invite you to join this community of seekers who walk together toward light. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and most importantly, leave a comment below with your name and the city you are watching from. In the next video, I will share special greetings so that your presence is not just silent, but celebrated. Imagine this. Your name spoken aloud as part of a gathering that spans across the world, connected not by distance, but by spirit. Because in the end, none of us are alone. We are threads in the same tapestry, flames from the same eternal fire, and when one of us awakens, it sends ripples through the whole. Remember this, the signs you've received are not the end of the story. They are the beginning of a larger revelation, one that will continue to unfold if you dare to follow it. Something greater is waiting just beyond the veil of the ordinary, and soon that veil will lift.